Hello, my name is Merlin Marr-Johnson. I'm the Executive Vice President of Salazar Resources, which is a Vancouver exchange quoted exploration and development company. Salazar Resources is based in Ecuador. It's got a market capitalization of around $50 million Canadian, and we have got a carried 25% interest in a highly valuable advanced stage VMS deposit, which is in the feasibility stage, about to go into final feasibility, well, finish the feasibility and then go into permitting. In addition to that, we've got a 100% owned portfolio of very exciting exploration assets within which we hope to find the next major copper gold project in Ecuador.
Hello, Merlin. Haven't seen you since, correctly, January, February or so. How have you been?
It's been good. It's been busy. It's been a long time. And in that time, we've had elections in Ecuador. So there's been a kind of a change in the political environment in Ecuador.
There has. It's kind of why I wanted to talk to you, actually, because there's a lot going on in South America generally. We're seeing it in Peru, Chile, last year a little bit with Mexico, and obviously with you guys now getting that out of the way really, really helps. So what was the outcome of the election? Who won? Was it good for mining?
In short, the winner of the election was Guillermo Lasso with a pro-investment, pro-business agenda. He's a ex-banker. He really understands foreign direct investment. He understands security of kind of law and tenure. He's just signed up the country to the Convention on International Settlements, kind of the convention run by the World Bank, which is a very good move for the country, sorry. And there was quite a lot of tension because in the run-up to the election, there was two very staunchly left-wing candidates. One, Yaku Perez, who was an anti-mining activist, and the second was the lead candidate for the far left, the ex-Corp party. Neither got in. Lasso won. The attitude, the market approach to Ecuador was a kind of risk-off. Companies got sold down, ours included. We got down to a share price in the 20s. And then as Lasso won the election and came through, our share price have all recovered. And it's kind of business as usual. Well, actually, not business as usual. We're back to a pro-mining environment.
Are you going to get a mining license? That's the question everyone's asking.
Well, yes. I mean, are we going to get a mining license? The short answer is yes, we are. But to put some color on that, remember that we've got this 25% carried stake. That really backstops our valuation. We're in partnership with Adventus Mining, and when you put our combined market caps together, it's about a value of about $150 million. And this is on a project which has got an NPV value of $500 million. So we've been publishing some extremely good infill results over the course of this year, and the share price doesn't really move. So we know that the feasibility study is coming out in a couple of months, 3 or 4 months. And that will be a valuation milestone. But we really know that the main milestone will be the permit. Can you get a permit in Ecuador to build an open pit mine? And the reason why we say we can, the reason why we're confident is because the government is so keen to have that foreign direct investment. And just to put that in focus, this week, there's been a meeting in Ecuador between the Chamber of Mines and the president. And that hasn't happened since 2012. So it's been 10 years since there's been a meeting between any representative of the mining industry and then sitting Ecuadorian president. And I can't overestimate how important that is and what a key signal that is to the Ecuadorian market and to the market in general. And just kind of what happened in that meeting and who was in the room, it was the full Chamber of Mines and all the representatives were there. So representatives from BHP, from Newcrest, from Lundin Gold, from Sol Gold, Solaris, Titan Minerals, everybody who's there, Challenger Exploration, Salazar Resources. And at one stage, the president said, right, I'm pro-mining, I'm pro-business, I really want to see this work. But I can't do everything at once. Look, what are the priorities? What are the key projects that are going to go into production and generate the value for Ecuador? And of course, the BHP, the Newcrest, and the SolGold guys all said, well, Cascabel, we're the biggest project, and we're going to be generating the most value for Ecuador. And he said, well, great, well, we'll focus on Cascabel. And then Freddie Salazar, Freddie Jr., who's been elected as the senior executive director of the Chamber of Mines, he popped his hand up and he said, well, Mr. President, Cascabel is a great project, but if you're looking for a near-term project which can be brought into production soon and which can generate revenues in the near term, then you have to consider Curipamba as well, because our timeline is 1 year, not 1 decade. I don't think he was chippy towards Cascabel, but he certainly said that Curipamba can move in the short term. And the president kind of took this on board. There was a discussion around it, and the conclusion was that for the country, the 2 priority developments were Curipamba and Cascabel, which is a huge endorsement for Salazar Resources and indeed for Adventus Mining and for the Curipamba project.
And that's extraordinary. I mean, crikey, if you don't ask, you don't get. Touch scenario. I quite like that. So for that reason, because of that conversation, that meeting, you feel that mining permits or necessary permits and licenses are not far away. But who's managing that? Is it Freddie Salazar Jr. or Senior, or is Adventus leading from the front there?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say that it's all dependent on the president's word. The team at Curipamba have been doing fantastic work for 14 years now. We've taken this from a grassroots discovery right through the community programs. We've got the soccer school, we've got the dance school, we've got a really, really well-developed community program. We're the largest employer in the region. We've got extremely good dialogue with all the regional governors and all the layers of authority that are required to do that. We are intimately involved in the process. Adventus will be making so Adventus, when they've earned 75%, which they will have done by the completion of the feasibility study, at that point, they will trigger their ownership of the project. At the moment, we still own 100%. But once the feasibility is completed, at that point, Adventus owns the 75% and we're carried on the 25%. And so the submission for the permits will come under their name, but we are intimately involved in that process. So we retain all of that. Freddie Salazar Sr.'s sensitivity and his nose for getting things done.
Okay, so we saw the press release recently. It's a joint press release between both companies, which is always a difficult one in terms of agreeing wording and so forth. But it was around the feasibility study, and I think you also bought a camp, or at least some semblance of a camp as well. I mean, that press release was what? To just remind us that in the next 3 or 4 months, feasibility will be presented, and we should be looking out for him. And what was the purpose of the press release?
Oh, the press release was really an update on the feasibility study. And it was just to say that we're on track. It'll be completed in Q4 of this year. A new resource is coming out, and that hopefully we'll see. My hope is that given the tenor of the infill results that we've seen in the last 8 months, that we'll see a small upgrade to the overall grade. If we can get a 5% increase, that'd be fantastic. That the metallurgical studies are ongoing, and basically every element of the feasibility study that you would want to see being on track, ready for completion, is there. There was the additional line about the camp being built, also being bought, and that's just kind of a bonus. We managed to buy a construction camp for cents in the dollar from Lundin, from the camp that was bought used by Lundin Gold in the construction of Fruta del Norte. So.
Okay. I'm more interested in the feasibility study. Obviously, the side note of the camp is, I guess, interesting, shows intent. But so feasibility study on schedule is what I want to hear. What are you guys doing? That's what Adventus are up to. What are you guys doing? Because I get the dip around the election and so forth. Like say, you went down to sort of 26, 27 cents there. You're back up at 34, but that's kind of where you were at the beginning of the year. So what are you going to do to drive share price? What are you going to do to drive interest in your project?
Okay, well, there are two things we can do and that we are doing. One is we're doing ongoing exploration around El Domo. So within Curipamba project, we've got the mine, which is El Domo, which is 9 million tons in the measured and indicated category. Now we're doing some exploration around in the broader Curipamba license area, and should we make a discovery there, that could have a transformational value or impact on the valuation of the Curipamba project. So that would go from let's say a $500 million NPV to conceptually something up from there, possibly doubling it. And so if we can make a new discovery, add on another 10 million tons or 15 million tons, or show that the potential of this license area is not the 10 to 15 million tons that we already know about, but it's actually double that, then that's transformational. So we are in the process of doing that. And one of the upshots of COVID is that there's been much less ability for the Adventus team to come down and spend time on the ground at Curipamba. And the flip side of that is that the Salazar Resources geologists have done much more of the groundwork, and well, they've been basically running it, because what was happening in the previous 2 years is that our geologists were on the ground, but we were kind of on a more daily basis in touch with Adventus. But at the moment, just because of physical differences or distances, our team is very much kind of running that process. And we're seeing some good stuff in the ground. I hope that we can announce something exciting in the second half of the year. That would be just tremendous. So that would be one kicker. The other thing that we're doing is we're running on a 100% portfolio in terms of exploration. Now we've got drill rigs at Los Osos, and we put out some early results on Los Osos. We've put out results on holes 1, 2, and 3, and 4. They were quite low grade, but over extremely large intersections. We've had a huge backlog from the laboratory. In fact, we're looking to change laboratories because we haven't got the results back from the holes 5 and 6. So we're really, really waiting for those assays. If we can get higher grades in holes 5 and 6, then it's kind of game on for Los Osos. If not, then we'll probably move on to other projects in the portfolio. And just because the way that the flow of time, or time is marching on, we are planning drilling in other projects as well in the second half of this year, as we have planned all throughout this year. So we always plan to be drilling 4 projects this year, and we're still on track to do that. So I can't come out with specifics because we haven't got the results back, and we haven't got the drill rigs actually turning on the new projects. But all I can say is watch this space. The second half of the year, it's going to be a cracker, both in terms of what we're going to be delivering from the 100% owned portfolio, and also from all the work that we're doing with Adventus.
Right, and so what's the cash position at the moment? You've got obviously funded to be able to do that drilling, and then what?
We raised $5 million US in February. We've actually been earning quite well through the drill rigs. We've got 4 drill rigs which actually provide the cash flow to help us cover our G&A, because we've drilled less than we hoped, and that was linked back to not having the permits that we wanted to have. Our cash position is pretty healthy. I haven't got the quarterly figures, but we haven't had the drawdown that you might otherwise have expected. We've got plenty of cash to drill the 9,000 to 10,000 meters that we want to do during the course of this year, the rest of this year. And really what we're looking to do is to make a transformational discovery. We want to have one project. I've always said that 2021 is all about finding one project that we can hang our hat on and say, wow, we've got intersections here. This is something that we can really, really drive. And remember that there's so much demand for copper gold projects. If you can make a transformational discovery, I can see it looking around the market. I look at the valuation of other companies, a few drill holes in there, and you're looking at anywhere between $50 and $150 million worth of value through good exploration results. So that's really what we hope to be delivering during the course of this year.
Okay, so you're going to try and identify one. We've talked about this ever since we've started talking about it a couple of years ago. It was always a case of, we know the strategy. You've got to pick one of your 3 100% owned targets, yep, right? And then go after that. But has the ambition changed any? Because obviously, where you're at, you're like 50 million market cap now. You're up 34 cents, or 19 when we first started talking. 17 to 19. And in terms of that plan, do you think that you can hold on to all of those? Do you think that you can hold on to them, and not have to relinquish one or farm one out to kind of fund things, because you got to have a view on gold projects, copper gold projects, etc. in country, and getting people's attention back on Ecuador, because there's a lot of detractors for Ecuador, right? But you listed earlier a whole bunch of the big names, the BHPs and the Newmonts and the SolGolds, etc. They seem to believe it. Your story about the first sitting president coming and sitting down with the mining association, the mining. So what is it called? I've got to get the phrase.
Chamber of Mines.
Chamber of Mines. It seems all positive, right? But there seem to be people still just a little bit doubtful about doing business in Ecuador. And what do you say to those guys?
I completely get it. And it has taken us longer than we wanted to get to this stage where we've got to. So you've raised 3 points. First of all, about our market cap. We were massively undervalued then, and we've advanced the project at Curupamba. So we're still trading at 0.3 of NAV in terms of entire market capitalization is still at a huge discount to our carried stake in El Domo. So that's one thing, that the market cap is still underrepresented and not reflecting the wholly owned portfolio at all. The second point is, Ecuador is slow and it has been frustrating, and we've had this change of government. And for the first year that I was speaking to you, we were coming to the end of a government that had actually put the brakes on the mining sector. There were no permits coming through, and still with the transition, it's actually been slow for those permits to come through. In the Chamber of Mines meeting this year, the president was really shocked when he said, okay, so tell me about the backlog, what do we need to do? And we said, well, actually, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of environmental permits and concession inquiries in with the mining cadastre, which are blocking investment into this country. If you want investment to flow into Ecuador, you've got to enable these licenses to be processed. And he got it. He got it, and he turned around to the mining minister and he said, this has got to change. What can we do to make this work? Because we need the foreign direct investment. And that brings me to the third question you had, which is, why bother? Is it going to happen? And the answer is, if you're looking for big copper gold projects anywhere in the world, you have to be looking in Ecuador, because this is pretty much the last territory where they're sitting out of the ground and sticking out of the ground, and you can stub your toe in them at surface. These are walk-up, large-scale copper gold projects, and everybody is there because they know that whether it takes an extra 6 months or an extra 2 months in Ecuador, as compared to somewhere else, the government is behind it, the geology is behind it, and the market is demanding these kinds of discoveries. So absolutely, we are still looking for that lead project. What I don't think I mentioned was that Freddie Salazar, on a private basis, he's got on the family basis, they've got a little processing plant in near Portobello, which he toll treats ore from the artisanal miners that bring it in from the hills around, and occasionally, and he sells it to kind of traders, metal traders. It's just a family business. He's had it for 20 years. It doesn't really sit properly within a company like Salazar Resources, but it's a fantastic prospecting tool, because we get these prospectors coming in, or these are small miners or artisanal guys, and they have these trucks full of rocks, these pickup trucks full of rocks, and they process it through, and they get paid their cut. And occasionally the mill manager, plant manager, gives us a call and says, we've seen some really interesting geology, and then we go go back out. And just a few months ago, a really fascinating set of geology came in. We're in discussions with it. This is part of the deal flow. We're in discussions with the small miners who've got access to this title. And if we can secure it, it's one of these things which is just sticking out of the ground. So that's the kind of thing that Salazar Resources has got access to, which is just optionality for investors. It's
interesting. I was listening to a couple of interviews this week. One was Ivan Glassenberg, Glencore, said he's not quite sure where the next big copper mine is going to come from, but people better get a move on and find it, because he doesn't think the supply is going to meet the demand, which I thought was interesting. And then the second was a reminder from Rick Rule about the status of a certain Freddie Salazar Sr., in the mind of Sprott and their investing, their belief in Ecuador, and indeed Salazar Resources. That's quite a nice comment from him, I thought.
Well, we looked very much forward to repaying that faith in him with discovery in the next few months and being able to announce it to the market. So just as a reminder, we're drilling Ossos at the moment. We've had kind of slightly low grades there in the first set of drill results, but we're waiting for more results. We are working on Santos. We're trying to finalize the definitive agreement, but once we've got that agreed, then we can go in there and we can start doing proper field work on some exciting gold prospects there. We're lining up to drill Rumiñahui, which is a copper gold porphyry target on trend with the giants up at Cascabel and Yurimaguas in the north. And we're working on a number of other deals as well. So both in terms of the applications to the government for when the cadastre finally opens or starts processing licenses again, and also the deal flow that we see coming through the kind of the Ecuadorian network. And then we've got Macaramina, which we'll probably get around to drilling next year, which is a gold target down in the south. So there's plenty on. Coming back to one of your earlier questions, we don't have money to take on all of these ourselves, but we do have enough money to do the key drilling and evaluation work so that we can make an assessment of which one we want to take on 100% and which one we want to farm out. So yeah, we can reach that staging post, that gating decision point on the funds that we have.